The lead from Hennepin, Representative Hilstrom.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. There's been a lot of discussion about the public safety piece of this bill, but I want to talk about the historical perspective of folks here in Minnesota being involved in organizing and striking or protesting to gain rights. In 1915, 2,000 women suffragists marched through Minneapolis to get the right to vote. That was scandalous at the time. In 1916, on the Iron Range, the miners struck to get an 8-hour workday. Wasn't necessarily successful at the time, but ultimately after the strike ended, the mines actually created the 8-hour workday. In 1934, the Teamsters wanted the right to organize for truckers, and in Minneapolis, they shut down Minneapolis for a while, and it was considered a violent strike in Minneapolis for the right for truck drivers to organize. In 1939, it was against the law to strike against the government, but that didn't stop folks from striking and protesting on the University of Minnesota campus when the federal government decided that they were going to cut wages and increase hours of mostly African American women who worked in the sewing rooms. In 1985, the Hormel strike resulted in the National Guard being called out. And I forgot to say that at the strike on the Iron Range in 1916, then the governor decided that it should be illegal. They outlawed pickets that had been used. The governor of Minnesota outlawed pickets. So members, we have a long history in our state of people using a protest to organize for their rights and to make statements. It's not always popular. In many instances, there has been violence in Minnesota's history. I don't want this body to think that the language that's in this bill is the language that the governor said that he would sign. The governor was very specific on the news, saying that he would consider enhanced penalties for blocking the freeway and blocking the airport. This bill goes further than that, and it includes blocking light rail and blocking transit. If you stand in front of a bus door to make a statement, a political statement, it would be a gross misdemeanor in this bill. So I just don't want folks to think that Minnesota doesn't have a history of people standing up for their rights. You can vote to have this language in the bill, or you can vote to take it out, but you can't take away the history that Minnesota has had and will continue to have. Minnesotans decide what they believe is the right thing to do, and they do it. And you saw that just this year at the airport when people showed up to respond to the executive order signed by Donald Trump on immigration. That would be considered an illegal protest because they didn't have a permit because there wasn't time. If you want all those folks to be gross misdemeanors, I don't. Vote in favor of removing the language.
John from Hennepin.